Today's class is going to be on emotional health, and we are going to go over um, several things that we can do herbally to support it, and we're also going to talk about what we can do emotionally and spiritually to support the health of our heart and mind. And um, we need to understand that the body, all the parts of the body rise and fall together. The physical, emotional, and spiritual are all linked. When one drops, they all drop. So if you are physically toxic, if your body is physically toxic and you are uh, sick, disease sick, toxic sick, we're not talking about a broken leg or something like this. We're talking about toxicity that has made you sick. Then emotionally and spiritually, you will be experiencing depression and other issues that just pull you down because they all go down together. And as you heal the physical, as the physical disease leaves your body and you begin healing from that, you're going to find that these emotional issues are going to bubble to the surface. And you have to deal with them. If you just cram them back down inside you and say, nah, I don't want to deal with that, your disease, you're cramming your disease back down in you also. It's you cannot be well and healthy if you do not deal with what is coming up at you, because it's all in there together. The disease that you have, the cancer, the tumors, the toxicity, whatever it is that you're dealing with, the emotional issues are crammed down there with it, and they're going to bubble to the surface and need to be dealt with as they come up. Okay, it all rises and falls together. Let's start with depression. And probably what I should start with is a little background on myself. Call it my coming into natural healing was basically because of kidney failure and long-term infections, which stemmed from early sexual abuse and childhood rape. A young girl just does not have the floor or whatever to deal with being handled sexually. And so, of course, I had numerous bladder and kidney infections from childhood on, and nobody was watching and nobody really cared that I was having these issues. So they were allowed to just go crazy. And when I finally got in my teens and 20s and was able to get for some medical help, my kidneys were just a mess, and I was just living from one bladder infection to the next. The suppression drugs that they use, antibiotics are suppression therapy. They do not clear the infection from the body. They just suppress it deeper so the symptoms go away. And there was hardly anywhere left to suppress that infection to. My bladder was just so full of it, and so were my kidneys. So coming into natural healing, I learned a lot. And of course, what was crammed right down in there with the infections was all of the stuff I needed to deal with on the emotional basis. So it's been quite a journey. It's been 30 years that I've been doing this kind of work. And the Lord and I have taken this walk together. And I've learned a lot. And maybe I can share some of it with you all today. And we can just, I'll just tell you what I've done, what's worked for me, what I've seen work for other people. And we'll just go from there. All right, depression. There was a period if any of you have read my biography, you can get the backstory. It's called Whatever Good May Come. You can get it off of Amazon. There's also an audiobook done. I had it read by a professional reader onto audio. She did a beautiful job. April Barrows did the reading, and she just did a really good job on it. So my biography is out there if you want to know all the backstory. I wrote it in 2000. It published in 2009. It took me we started working on it in 2000, 2001, and it was 2009 before it was finished. Wow. So one chapter took me a whole year to write. I could only work on it for 15, 20 minutes at a time before I was emotionally shocked. But getting it all out was great therapy. I mean, it was just fantastic. It was very healing to get all of that out and to look at it all and just see, you know what? It was them. It wasn't me. You know, I was the girl, and they were using me. It wasn't me. But it children, they take it on themselves. You know, I figured when I was 13 and an uncle who I adored made a pass at me, and it broke my heart. You know, he danced me into a dark room. He was actually building our church. It was next to the school that I was in. I was going to a private school, and he was the electrician building the church, and he was over there. So of course, you know, uncle's over there. I'm going to go over and see him and everything. And there was some music. You know how the guys on a construction site play their rock and roll music and all that. And he danced me into a dark room and kissed me on the mouth. I mean, and I was just like, my God, what is it? What's wrong with me that all these holy, righteous men want to have sex with me? I really thought it was all my fault, that there was something evil in me that was making them do that. And that was the way I felt about myself for a long time, that I was really bad, really evil, and I made men do all these horrible, evil things. And no, it was not me. It was them, bunch of pervert idiots that were in my life.
Yep, exactly. Pervert.
And yes, and I was only in the 7th grade when, yeah, I wasn't even, well, they were just all idiots. And I realize that now, but it took years of understanding, and then going back as I was writing the book and going through it and just combing through all the past and looking at it through the eyes of an adult, of a loving adult who could forgive and let it go. I realized, no, there was nothing wrong with me. And I always knew that the Lord loved me. Even through the worst of it, I knew he loved me, and that no matter what was going on, that the Father loved me. I never felt like he had turned his face from me. Even when I was in, you know, I'd put myself in really ridiculous situations. I always knew that the Father, that he was smiling on me, and that he loved and understood my heart, that I wanted to do good, that I wanted to be good. But it just wasn't working out very well. And that was where it all began. Depression. As a mother, my daughter went down some really bad roads, cyber sex, bunch of really, really bad stuff going on. And this has been like 20 years or more now, 20, 25 years since she's been out of my life. But, and she walked, but the prodigal son, he did not have to follow him into that country and chase him down. The father was allowed to stay put and let the son come back. So if my daughter ever wants to come home, she knows where I'm at. In the meantime, I don't got to put up with her stuff. It was stupid, but it threw me into a horrible depression. And there were only those that were really close to me knew how depressed I was. I could be talking on the phone to somebody, and I was already doing heal and all this, and nobody knew how bad it was, because there would be tears coming out of my eyes. I would be crying. I would keep my voice happy. I would keep myself put together, but the tears just came, and I couldn't stop them. And it was just no hope. I mean, in my heart, in my mind, everywhere, there was just no hope. It was just the very deepest, darkest place to be. And through that, my mentor, who mentored me into natural healing, she came up, she knew how bad I was, and she came up with some suggestions that really worked. I had already put together the antidepressant formula. I was using it. I had been using several different herbs to support. And then when I realized what I was doing, that every day I was just using the same routine, I put them all together into the antidepressant formula. And the key of that formula is St. John's wort. Now, St. John's wort is a powerful detoxifier of the brain. The only issue with St. John's wort is that you have to support it. It creates so much die-off that if you are not using an ounce a day of echinacea when you use the St. John's wort, it will backlash on you. Now, I thought that I was big and bad and that I didn't need the echinacea. And when Jackie started me on the routine that she had suggested, which was olive leaf with my antidepressant formula and echinacea, I skipped the echinacea and just used the olive leaf and the St. John's wort. And the next morning, okay, I woke up, I got her package and I started using it that night. And then by the next morning, it was like the birds were singing and it was just a beautiful, lovely day. The sun was shining. I hadn't seen a day like that in 2 or 3 years. And it was just a gorgeous day. I felt productive. I was doing what I needed to do. I kept using the formula throughout the day like I needed to. And then the next day I got up and it was still good. The third day I got up and I was black. I had completely crashed because I had not used any echinacea. And I had a complete backlash. I was practically suicidal. And I called Jackie and I was crying and just beside myself. And just, I told her I didn't use the echinacea. She laughed at me. I deserved to be laughed at. That was stupid. That it took me 2 or 3 months. I can't remember now because it's been over 20 years since then. But it took me 2 or 3 months to get back to another bright, sunshiny day like that. I added the echinacea and it just took that long for me to crawl out from under all that backlash from using that protocol without supporting my immune system. So it is very, very important that when you use the olive leaf and the St. John's wort, that you make sure that you are supporting it with your echinacea, an ounce a day each day. And the other thing about St. John's wort that a lot of people don't know is it works a little bit like cellophane. St. John's wort, excuse me, St. John's wort covers over the area that's been detoxed and prevents reinfestation of the toxins. So it seals over the cleaned out areas and prevents them from being reinfested with the toxicity. It targets the brain, but it is one that you have to support because it is such a powerful detoxifier. It's actually gotten a really bad reputation over the years as a backlash, something that will just backlash you. On my blog, on the article, give you the one that has the protocol for that, Emotional Health Naturally, that will have the regimen, and I believe it's, yes, Emotional Health Naturally has the testimony with the St. John's wort, the antidepressant, and all that. So,
Dara, what do you mean when you say it'll backlash you?
Okay, a backlash is when. Okay, let's back up and look at what echinacea does. Echinacea sends a chemical command to your immune system to produce more immune cells. when you are detoxing, you have to have an immune cell attach and neutralize each piece of waste that is being created. So that die-off that you're creating with the detoxing herbs has to be neutralized. All of that has to be attached by an immune cell and neutralized so that your liver and your kidneys can process it out of the body. If you do not have enough immune cells to attach and deal with all the die-off you're creating, then you will reabsorb that die-off. That is a backlash, because when it goes back in, it's just like the toxins, the poison reinfecting you all over again. And you will feel like you've been run over by a freight train. Have you heard the term healing crisis?
Yes, yes.
You know, it's the same thing. It's just another word for the same thing, a backlash, a healing crisis. It's all the same thing. I mean, I don't call this a healing crisis because it was pure stupidity. It was a backlash from being stupid and not using the echinacea in the first place. A healing crisis happens when you're going along, you're detoxing, you're using your programs, you're doing all this good stuff, and your immune system just gets used up. All the cells are used up. You just don't have enough immune cells to continue to attach and use. And when you start feeling like that, you'll get flu-like symptoms. You'll start feeling a little under the weather, achy, whatever it is that when you know you're feeling toxic, that toxic feeling starts coming on you. Take more echinacea. Take another tablespoon or ounce in the evening. I mean, increase your echinacea. If you're doing your echinacea and you're supporting yourself, the die-off is just becoming so much that the amount that you're using is not enough anymore. I had a real good friend. Her name is Janet Duffy. She lets me talk about her. She knows I talk about her. She healed herself of lymphoma, and she got up to 2.5 ounces a day of echinacea. That was what she needed while she was dissolving all the tumors and getting all the waste out of her body. It was 2.5 ounces a day that she ended up working up to. And the way that she got up to that amount was she started at 1 ounce like everyone does. And when she started feeling toxic, she increased it to 1.5 ounces. And then when that wasn't supporting her, she went to 2 ounces. And when that didn't support her, she went to 2.5 ounces. And she stayed up there for like 6 months, I think it was. I mean, this again is like 20 years in the past. She's still alive, and I've been bugging her to come join my class, but she's such a busy lady. And she already knows it all. So what does she need to hear me yak for? But
so let me just ask. So you know when the echinacea is enough because you get that feeling, like you say, like the birds singing in the morning and all of that stuff. Like, how do you know?
No. That has nothing to do with echinacea. Echinacea just is supporting. Echinacea is supporting the herbs that are creating, that are healing, clearing your mind and your brain. The St. John's wort, the olive leaf, the herbs that are actually doing the detoxing are being supported. Your body is being supported by the echinacea, so those detoxing herbs can do their job. Got it?
Okay, so then how do you know when? How do you know when you're taking enough of the echinacea?
Because you don't feel like you've been run over by a Mack truck. You're not. You don't feel like. Common sense tells you need to take some echinacea. So 1 ounce a day is where you begin. When 1 ounce a day you don't feel supported, you know, you're starting to feel that achy feeling, or just some people get emotionally depressed. I'm right here. You know, whatever it is where toxins get you, then you know, okay, I should probably increase my echinacea by a tablespoon, and let's just see if that doesn't help. And take it at the end of the day. So you take your echinacea 1 ounce in the morning, so take a tablespoon at night, and just increase that way.
So I know I have dried herb echinacea. So can it be dry powdered form, or does it have to be the liquid form?
The dried powder, it just, okay. We're going to go into that too. The reason that I do not use capsules and powders and those kind of things is because, one, you don't know how long they've been sitting there, how much vitality they actually still have in them. And two, it's up to whenever you are sick, whenever your body is degraded, the hydrochloric bath is the most energy consuming thing that your body produces. And when your body is degraded and sick, your hydrochloric bath is going to be water. It's not going to have the strength to actually break down and absorb the nutrients out of what you're swallowing. You're not going to get it. It's just going to be a waste of herb. Okay. When you do an herbal extract, it goes straight in. It's in your blood. It goes in. You get it all. It's not a crapshoot whether your body can actually digest it, get it, whether it can use it. It's in there. So it's I don't do capsules except for the number one and kelp and a few of the. There's a couple things that we do capsulate where it's not such a big deal that they get in your blood. They're doing something else. But when it comes to the healing nutrition of the detoxing formulas in those and your echinacea, it's a waste of your money to not do an extract.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions on that? Okay. So, yes.
Sarah, I have a quick question, and it's about the superfood. And I imagine that would be a support in this as well. But
yes,
maybe I should wait.
That would be the nutritional support. You are going to be doing the herbals, but then your food program, your foundational program, and we need to have another class on the foundational program so I can get that one recorded. And so when I do these classes, it's assuming the foundational program is in place. The foundational program consists of boosting with echinacea, your food program, and making sure your bowels are open and moving well. And if you're dealing with a serious depression, you may want to be juice fasting or eating raw for a little while, just to get more alkaline so that your body can get the toxins out more effectively, because you'll be clearing them from your brain and those need to be filtered out. So you're going to be rebuilding. Just play it what you can, because the downside of it is when you're really depressed, you don't want to juice fast. You want to sit there and eat your carbs and just drug yourself, medicate yourself with bad food, which is just going to completely defeat the purpose. You have to know that you cannot eat that way and get out of the mess you're in. I mean, when you're standing in a hole, the best way to get out of it and to stop is you quit digging. You stop digging and you start building. Okay, and digging is eating junk. You got to stop that. Mm-hmm. And depression, it's really, really hard. So don't set yourself up to lose. I mean, this is the big thing. Don't say, okay, I'm depressed. I know I'm depressed, and I'm going to juice fast, and I'm going to do all this, when you know you can't. Maybe your best baby step is saying, okay, no more sugar, no more white flour. Let me just, eat this other stuff, whatever it is that's in your food program that you can do, but cut out the sugar cut out the sugar and cut out the cheap carbs and add superfood. So that is pretty much a program for depression. All right, let's look at social anxiety. And depression is not social anxiety. Social anxiety is where you have panic attacks. There are certain situations that just send your heart rate through the roof where you just can't deal. You just have to walk away. I completely understand anxiety issues. I have been living with a man who has dealt with them. He's the other side of them now. But for when we first met, 35 years ago or better. He had never gassed his car, handed money over the counter to check out or buy anything. His mother had made him a complete social invalid by doing everything for him.
Wow.
She completely destroyed his ability to be in public and do anything in public. And he is a phlegmatic personality, a very mild personality. So it was easy to let her do it. And he had no idea as a child and a young man that she was destroying him. And he was adopted by a much older, she was 56 when he was born. And the judge actually let this older couple adopt this baby. And he was supposed to never leave her and always take care of her. And she made sure that he couldn't live without her until he met me. She never did like me very much. But so when we met, he had no ability. He had not even answered the telephone. I was the first person that he actually picked up a phone and called. It was, but he was not stupid. He's a very intelligent man. He just had no experience, no ability, and he didn't know how it was done, and he didn't want to make a fool of himself. He had no idea what to do. On one of our first dates, he needed to put gas in his car, and he drove a Firebird, and the gas tank was under the license plate in the back. We had to go find the gas tank where you put the gas in. I didn't know, and he didn't know where it was. His mother took the car out once a week and gassed it. And so we're walking around the car trying to figure out where the gas goes. And of course, he had no ability to go up and give the person the money for the gas. I had to do that. And I realized right away that he would do what he would do. And I would not coddle him in the things that he was capable of doing. And so our relationship was me just being there to do what needed to be done that he absolutely couldn't do, and him struggling to figure out and to do the best he could. And the last step in clearing it was when I started making the nerve food formula. We call it the NF formula. And this is one of Dr. Christopher's formulas. I have seen this absolutely end his panic attacks. Just stop them right there. Ending them. After he used it, and he didn't have to use it for an extended period of time. It was just hit and miss. When he would start feeling the anxiety coming up, he would take some and it would end it. He actually taught the adult Sabbath school class at our church, for a whole quarter. He got up in front of the church, in front of everybody, and taught the class for a whole quarter. That he never could have done. He couldn't even take it when I taught the class. When I would teach the class, he had to be out. He would either sit in the mother's room or wait in the car, because he could not take the stress of me being up there teaching the class. It was too stressful for him. And, you know, it was bad. But since using the nerve food formula, that has all just gone away. He is able to function. He can do what he wants. He even taught the sermon one week during camp meeting. He did the whole service. It was just a few people there because the ones that couldn't make it to camp meeting, but it was all the same thing. He got up and preached a sermon. And, you know, that is huge improvement. And I take all of that. I mean, not that he wasn't working for himself, but the nerve food formula, the way that this formula works is it feeds the nerves. And when the nerves don't get the nutrition that they need, they overfire. They just won't relax. They just overreact. And the nerve food feeds them, and everything calms down. Everything. And it's also the formula that we use for insomniacs, people who just can't sleep. Their mind won't shut down. They just can't go to sleep. This will also just calm those nerves down so that they can sleep, and will end that. And it's not a sedative in the sense that it will not put you to sleep unless you're an insomniac and you haven't slept in weeks. Then you take it and it's probably going to knock you out. You'll be asleep in just a little while. But for normal people who get their sleep, it is not a sleep aid. Normally, for those who just have some issues with sleeping, I suggest that they use one of the sleep aids that we have along with the nerve food to help induce sleep, because it will just calm the nerves down so that then they can get some sleep. And if you sleep and then you wake up later and can't go back to sleep, the general nervine is really good for that. And not sleeping well really contributes to mental and emotional issues. You need to sleep well. So let's just look at sleeping for just a minute. There are a couple of things for those insomniacs, those who do not sleep well, that you need to take note of. One, remove all electrical equipment from your sleeping area. You want all of that out of there. No computers. Some people have even taken clocks out of the room, and just have the wind-up clock. That's going a little, but if that's what you need, then take that out too. Do not eat after like 5 or 6 in the evening. You want your digestion and all that to be finished so that all of that can shut down and sleep and rest also. If your anatomic system is working and still pumping food through and all that, it's going to keep you restless and keep you awake. Your body cannot just rest completely. So you can drink. I mean, if you need the nutrition, have a glass of superfood. I mean, that doesn't require pumping and dumping and the peristalsis to be moving that on around. But no chewing and swallowing food after 4 or 5 in the evening, maybe 6, depending on how late you stay up, just so that all that's gone from your stomach before you go to bed. All right. The other thing that is really important is we need to get that static electricity out of the body. The computers, the television monitors, all that, we're absorbing static electricity all around us all the time, and that is agitating. And the best grounding rod that we have is Mother Earth out there. Go outside, walk barefooted on the grass for 10, 15 minutes a day. When I was going through menopause and I was having all these horrible sleepless nights, I remember one night I got up, I was looking at the clock tick over every single hour. I was not sleeping. I was exhausted. I got up, threw the Afghan over my shoulders, walked outside, kicked the snow out of the way with my shoe, took my shoes off and stood on the icy ground. And I don't know if it was the hydrotherapy from doing that or the actual getting grounded, but I was asleep within 10, 15 minutes and slept beautifully the rest of the night.
Wow.
But just, you should do that before the middle of the night. I mean, go out there, take an evening walk, an evening constitutional, take your shoes off. And if you want, just lay on the grass if you've got a good spot, let your body come in contact with Mother Earth, and it will absorb the static electricity out of your system so that you can calm down, your body can shut down, and you can sleep. And that has been a huge gift for a lot of people, just getting out there, doing your nighttime walk, getting those shoes off, and just allowing your body just to let go of all that static electricity. And then, of course, the herbal-supports, the nerve food formula, and the sleep aids, the general nervine, or the insomnia formula. There's 3 of them. They all work different. So I would try, a little sample of each one, and just, if you're having sleep issues, we can just send out little samples of them with an order, and you can just see which one you like the best and which one supports you the best. All right. Another point that we need to address, when you are dealing with emotional history, past issues, you need to find a good Christian counselor, or you can do what I did and write the book. But I had counselors supporting me, so I didn't take a gun and just shoot myself in the middle of writing the book. I mean, Vo Payne, my counselor, was a huge gift all the way through this. She just kept me from going out of my mind while I was writing that book. And when I was in counseling, I found a few things that really helped make the sessions more effective. And this also works when you're doing free writing. Free writing is very therapeutic, and what it is, it's very simple. You just take a piece of paper, or if your fingers will type, and you can do that. I always like writing, but I have done it quite a bit on the computer in recent years. You just start writing, and whatever comes out the end of your fingers, you don't edit anything. You just type, or you just write, and get your journal out and just write. Let it go. And you can start by saying, oh, that crazy woman told me to do this, and I don't know what good it is. And eventually, once you get past cussing out the person who told you to do this thing, you're going to find that words start flowing out of you. You do not edit them. You do not stop the flow. You just let it go. And you write, and you just keep writing, and you keep letting whatever wants to come out, whatever words want to come out the end of that pen come until you're done. And you will be emotionally spent at the end of this thing. The way to get yourself really opened up is to use cayenne. Now, when I went into counseling sessions, Vo always had a glass of orange juice there for me, and I would put a teaspoon of cayenne into my orange juice and drink that, and it just opened everything up. I mean, cayenne works emotionally, and you'll find that a lot of herbs do this. They work on the emotional and spiritual level, just like they do on the physical level. Cayenne on the physical level opens everything up. It gets circulation going. Well, guess what? On the emotional level, it opens everything up and gets all the circulation going. So you're in therapy, you're in a safe place where it can be opened up, where you can just let it go. And use the cayenne as a tool. You can do it for your free writing, and you'll just be amazed at what comes out the end of that pen. There were some sessions when Vo and I were in there, and we were going, and I could not believe what was coming out of my mouth. I mean, it was just coming out. You know, whatever was in there just came out. And then, and she had explained this to me years ago. The emotional work is done on the subconscious level. Once you look at the garbage, once you open up and you take a look at what's going on in there, and you've got somebody you can trust to say, hey, you just said this thing. Look what you're saying. Look at this. And, it can come out and you don't even recognize what you've done or what you said or what it's all about. And so you have somebody that you can trust that can say, hey, I just see this thing that you're saying. Here it is. All right. And once you recognize it and you accept it, you don't have to keep dwelling on it. You don't have to sort it out in your own mind. Your subconscious will do that for you. What you need to do is get on with your life and let that settle to the subconscious level. And that little computer working in the background of your brain is going to adjust things, going to adjust your thinking, adjust your perceptions. Your whole world is going to shift. There's been so many times in therapy when we came to a major place and I realized a truth, something that I had always taken as truth that was a big fat lie. And the truth of it was something else. And once I saw that, it was just my whole perception. It was a paradigm. I think that's the right word. The paradigm shift. Everything just changed. The way I saw things, the way I perceived the world, it all changed. Because the truth that I was ingesting was true. And truth heals. Truth is the most healing thing that we have. And it just completely shifted my thinking. You could say the glasses fell off whatever. I just saw things differently, but that work was done subconsciously. And the way that you get that is you then, at the end of the session, you take 2 dropperfuls of lobelia extract. Lobelia opens everything up, and what it does emotionally, physically, lobelia is an antispasmodic. It just opens everything up and just calms everything down. What it does on the emotional level is it just settles it all. It settles it all down. And I could walk out of a counseling session, come back home, and get back on the phone and go through my day, and nobody knew that I just had major stuff going on. I didn't have the need to talk about it. If you've ever been around somebody who was in counseling and know that they have to talk about it all day long to everybody and air their business constantly, it's because they're working it through on the
Conscious level.
conscious level. And it's not going to work that way. It works on the subconscious level. They need to quit talking about it, let it go, let it settle, and go do something that occupies their brain somewhere else. So the lobelia at the end of the session, just take your dropperfuls of lobelia. When you're done with your free writing, do your lobelia, go lay down, close your eyes for 10, 15 minutes, just let it all settle. And I wouldn't read that right away. I mean, you're going to read it eventually, but I wouldn't go back and read it right after you wrote it. I would read it maybe the next day when you're free, clear, your mind is brighter and all that. Look at what you've read. There was one instance that I can share when my mother died, and I flew out to California. And if you read my story, my mother and I, our relationship was toast. But it would be what she allowed to happen to me when I was a child. She was not one of the brightest people, but I can forgive her. When she was a little girl, when she was 7 or 8 years old, her mother put a gun to her chest, pulled the trigger, and committed suicide. And my mom was in the room right next to her and was the first one into the room after her mother shot herself. I mean, what is a girl of that age going to think? They internalize, it's my fault. I did something to make my mother want to leave me. Why would she leave me? And when my mother died at 70 years old, she was still that little girl, not understanding why her mother wanted to leave her. But she was also a narcissistic, nasty person. If it wasn't about her 24/7, she didn't care. And she would tell you so. She was completely narcissistic, had no ability to empathize or deal with anybody. But she was broken, my goodness. As a child, you don't know this. As an adult, you can go back, you can forgive and give them to the Lord and just move on. And so I went out for my mother's funeral. And of course, I went out by myself. My husband had to stay back here and keep things running. And I walked into hell. And I knew I was going into the worst places. It was horrible. And I did it. I walked straight from the car when my husband let me off at the corner. I walked into the terminal, walked to the candy machine, bought 5 candy bars, and ate them all right there. Talk about self-medicating. And it was completely on the subconscious level. I mean, I ate 5 candy bars, just cold turkey right there. And if my husband had been with me, of course, I wouldn't have done it. He wouldn't have let me do it. But I was on my own and I needed to self-medicate somewhere. Only I didn't realize this at the time. All I knew was that I had been on this food program. I had lost like 80, 90 pounds on Weight Watchers. And suddenly I cannot control my food program anymore. I'm driving around Riverside, California, eating candy bars and ice cream and all of this stuff. And I came back completely disgusted with myself, feeling that I couldn't trust myself, that, who am I? I have made no progress. I am just completely toast. I cannot believe in myself. There's no faith here. How can I be anything when I can't even believe in myself and be strong enough to do anything good? And It took me almost a year to get to that, and it came out in free writing. I was free writing one night. I got up at midnight. I couldn't sleep. I was just beating myself up. And I sat down, I started free writing, and I wrote, why can't I be the woman that got on the plane? And then I wrote, no, that's a lie. I was eating the candy bars before I got on the plane, and it just hit me. I would already given it up before I even got on the plane. And I just went through and I just kept writing until I got done, but it came out in the free writing. I knew because I would never scratch through, but I would write, oh, that's a lie. And then I would write what the truth was, and just keep right on writing. And I took that into Vo and showed it to her. And she goes, well, of course you were medicating. You were self-medicating, do not beat yourself up over that. But of course I did. And because I didn't understand what I had done. And this came out in the free writing. And it is so good to have someone who can look at it and look at you and go, well, of course you did. And here I had been agonizing for over a year, wondering why my life was going to hell in a handbasket. And my mother had to die so inconveniently. I mean, why couldn't she have lived a little bit longer? Yeah. Just so I could have gotten a little more weight off at the time. And of course I gained like all the way back. I mean, I had dropped down and I went way back up again. And it was so bad. But I didn't understand. The healing had not come to the place where I could support the weight being gone yet. And there was a lot of healing that still had to happen. And that was back, she died in 06 or 07. And I wasn't ready to lose the weight until 17. So it was another 10 years of work I needed to do before I was going to be emotionally ready to lose the weight and to let all that baggage go. And the other thing that a lot of people don't understand or realize, and I don't know where this class is going, but I just let the spirit lead on, especially on this topic. A girl who has been emotionally abused, she is living on reaction time. When you are a victim, you are knee-jerk reaction. You're reactionary. I was in my 20s before I knew I had the right to say no to a man if I didn't want to sleep with him. I did not know that. Nobody had ever told me that it was my body, and just because someone got turned on and wanted to be with me, it wasn't my responsibility to take care of their issues. Yeah. I did not know this. I was in my 20s before I got strong enough and I knew, and the person that I ended up telling no to the first time was my father. And that was, no, I'm not crying, I'm sweating. No more tears in my story. That's all gone. It was my father, and he was completely an idiot. My sister told me that he had molested her. He had never bothered me as a child. He waited until I was in my 20s, and then he bothered me. And I got up and I said, no, this is not happening, and walked away. And it was the first time I had ever been able to do that. And I did not know that I could. Whether or not it was the right thing to do at the time, I didn't know, but I just knew it wasn't going to happen. And we need to understand that girls that have been abused, that have been trained, if you want to put it that way, they may not know or understand what they're doing, and that they are living in a knee-jerk reaction. We do not judge the girls. Just, you got to love them and just support them and try to give them whatever they can hear at the time, because you can't even hear the good stuff. There's growth and healing that has to happen before you can even hear the good stuff. The Lord has to bring us along. And in my life, I noticed, as in the last chapter of the book, I explained on the chapter forgiveness, that the Lord rewove the tapestry of my life by bringing healers and people and incidences into my life as I was able to tolerate them. And that he worked to heal. And we may have just one tiny little pearl to give to somebody. The Lord brings someone across our path. We're not there to heal them. We're not there to fix all their problems. We're there to give them that one little thing that we have that they need to hear that day. And the Lord knows we got it and we can give it. So we give it to them and then we let them go on about their way. And if they come back for more, that's fine. If they don't, well, that was what we needed to do with them. And the Lord will bring the people across your path each day that you need to see and to know, because you have that one little thing that they are needing that you can give them. And you know what? They also have something to give to you. I have found that every person I meet has a little pearl, a little something for me that when I take and spend the time to know them and to get to know them, I get their pearl and they get mine. And it's just a beautiful thing. It may be nothing more than a recipe or a concept on something new, but it's a little something in the exchange. And this is the healing, and this is the way the Lord uses us to heal people. None of us are going to get to take the whole journey, unless you're my poor husband, who has been stuck with me for 35 years. Poor guy. No one gets to take the whole journey with someone else, and we don't want to. We've got our own journey to take. And if you let your life get all tied up in somebody else's junk, then you're not going to be growing yourself. You're going to be all messed up in them. So give what you can. Bless whoever comes across your path. Give the best you have to somebody at the moments you're with them. If you need to cry with them, if you need to hug them, whatever it is, be with that person you're with, 100% with them. All then right. When they go, let them go. Healing the DNA. Tim Jennings, on that one article that I have tied to this class, it's called Healing Answers for the Mind. And you'll see that in this article, there are 3 videos embedded. You need to watch all 3 of these to get this. And it is like a college course in the brain. Everything that you could want to know about your brain, about aging brain, about DNA, what affects the DNA, and how to heal the DNA. And what I did, after watching his video about 8 or 9 times, it took that long to get all the stuff out of it because he talks so fast and he puts so much information in there, and it is so interesting that you just cannot get it all absorbed in the first watch. So I watched that a long time. And I've also, I talked to Tim Jennings and I told him, I said, you cannot take that video offline. Do not archive it away somewhere. I'm using it and it's good stuff. And he says, but I've redone that work. I said, I don't care. Leave the original stuff up. His love seminar is a little bit redundant with this, but it's not the same thing. This is really good. The love seminar, I call it the love seminar because the word love is in it and I can't remember what it's called, but it's there under his resources, and that is really good also. But it's not the same thing as the modern medicine one, which these 3 that I've taken off here. Okay, when I watched his and I took off this is what I did. Okay, I got to put my glasses back on, darn it. All right. I got Vitacost 100% pure pomegranate juice. Concentrate, I did 1 ounce a day, added to superfood or in water. Life Extension Optimized Folate, 1,000 mcgs. I guess those are micrograms. I don't know what mcg stands for. Something like that. Vegetarian capsules. I actually took 1 capsule 3 times a day. He didn't give on the board. He did not say how much to use of these. And I used what seemed right for me. Remember, I weighed 470 pounds when I was doing this. And so some of the doses may be a little higher than you need when you have smaller body mass. But just keep that in mind. But I don't think any of it's going to hurt you. The Now Foods NAC ACETYL cysteine. I'm not sure how to pronounce that one. 600 milligrams, 250 capsules. I did 2 capsules 3 times a day. That is a pretty hefty dose of that, but it was what I needed to be doing. Vitamin C, I did 3,000 milligrams 3 times a day. And I did 2 turmeric, the turmeric that we make. I have Hill Marketplace turmeric capsules here. I did 2 turmeric capsules 3 times a day. I've always felt that the best source for vitamins and minerals and things is live food source, but in this case, I went ahead and bit the bullet and used the supplements that he was suggesting. And 24 hours after I started using this, it was just like a light came on in me. I was not depressed at the time. I did not feel depressed. I was not in a bad way at all. I just knew I needed to heal my DNA. After watching his videos, I realized that I had damaged DNA. And this is a routine for healing the DNA, damaged DNA. And it was just like I lightened, something lifted on me. I stayed on this regimen for 9 months. And somewhere in the middle of all that, I broke out in boils. Somehow I got a hold of some pork. And I broke out in boils. Where are my notes? And I couldn't even sit down. They were on my bottom. And it just hurt even to sit in my chair. It was so painful. I was doing the infection work. I was putting charcoal flaxseed poultices. I could get them drained, but they would just fill back up. So I went into Christopher's work and I started researching, and I came across a place where this man who is not profuse said quickly that burdock root would quickly clear boils and carbuncles. Well, he says quickly. Christopher was not profuse. He did not use adjectives lightly. So I go, all right, I'm going to try some burdock. All right, on Tuesday, I started the burdock, and you only do it 1 time a day. Burdock increases your urine flow, and it increases the kidney's ability to pull waste from the urine. From the blood. So your urine is going to be really, really heavy. By that, I mean, it's got more sediment, more waste in it. You're going to see it sink, and it's going to be really, really dark, even though there's tons of it. By Friday, the boils were completely gone, and they've never come back. All right. The other thing that came out of this was my libido shot through the roof. I was interested again, really interested. My husband was smiling again. After menopause, that had kind of leveled out on a lower level than what we'd ever been. That went straight up. It just cleared. I just felt myself really rejuvenated. It was just a lightening. It just added to the other work I was doing. I stayed on that. I ended up staying on the burdock, 1 rounded teaspoon, heaping rounded teaspoon. It was root. So you just dip your spoon in, pull it out with while it will hold, and dump it into your big cup. Pour boiling water over it, put a saucer on the top of that cup, let it cool, and then kind of stir it up. It doesn't taste bad at all. It's actually pleasant, and drink it. And you've got to make sure you're drinking enough water to support all the fluid that's going to be coming out of you. So make sure you're drinking good. Between the DNA issues and the burdock, I stayed on these protocols nearly a year, from all of them. And at the end of that year, it was just a few months down the road that I started my weight loss program and dropped 240 pounds. The first 200 was in 9 months. I dropped 200 pounds in 9 months. And then the 40 pounds came off more slowly because I began adding food back in and doing more of a, I wasn't water fasting as much. The weight loss was 3 to 5 days a week of water fasting and then just eating 10 carbs on the weekends. And of course, I was doing herbal-supports, the weight loss formula, bunch of other stuff to keep that up. But I was following the book, The Obesity Code by Dr. Jason Fung on water fasting for seriously obese issues. And so there's a lot of guidance there. Don't just start in with it. You need to read the book if you do that. And if you're not extremely obese, water fasting 1 day a week just to get yourself cleared out would be definitely an improvement. The work I did with the DNA and the burdock root, I believe, really cleared up the issues, cleared up my DNA, and gave me the healing that I needed inside me to be able to do the good stuff on the outside. We really cannot heal ourselves when we're broken. There's a lot of healing that has to happen, especially when there's been extensive abuse and neglect and really bad issues. Not that everyone doesn't have stuff that goes on in their life. Everyone has a story, and the benefits of just healing yourself, taking the time and doing the programs until you don't want to do them anymore. I mean, that was 9 months was just basically when I didn't want to do them anymore. I was done. I picked up the pills one morning, all those little capsules and stuff I was taking, and I looked at them and I didn't want them. And I have never been able to take them again. I thought about going back and going on that routine again, and I actually bought some of the stuff again to do it, and I just got it, and I had an aversion. I did not want to do it anymore. So I just stopped. I was done. Whatever they needed to do had been done, and it was finished. DaraDietz.me, Mary Edwards. Dara, my first and last name, DaraDietz.me is my blog. And I think the thing that grounds us, that really is the key to emotional health, if there is any key to it, emotional health is you and God together. You have to have an other focused life, and you have to have God in focus. It's not about you. It cannot be about you. It has to be, when we focus on ourselves, we just start, all the symptoms, all the stuff comes up. But you will find that when you are really depressed, when everything is just falling apart, go find somebody to do something for. Get out of yourself and go bless somebody. Just get up and go help a widow, go whatever. Just go find somebody to bless. Find somebody you can do something for. Be a complete blessing to somebody else. And you will find that the depression, that is one of the best cures for depression. And for just all the stuff when it's really weighing down on you, just go take care of somebody else. Do something really good for someone else. And you will find that it all just goes away. It gets in perspective. It just clears itself up. But if you sit there and just focus on yourself and focus on what's going on wrong in your life and all of that, you're just digging a hole that's getting deeper and deeper and deeper. You got to stop digging and get out of the hole and go find somebody to bless. Do something. And that is one of the best cures for depression I know of. Not an easy one to do, especially when you're all busy about focusing on yourself and how miserable you are. But if you can do that, you'll be doing good and you'll be over it really quick. Okay, my people, what time are we? Oh, 8 o'clock. It seems like we go to 8 o'clock almost every time.
Okay.
All right, I'm thinking next week is doing the foundational program again, and just getting that under our belts and getting that videotaped. That is bowel cleansing, the food program, and echinacea. Yeah, let's do the foundational next week, and then the following week we'll do eye health.
Okay.
Does that sound like a plan?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yes.
Okay, all right. Well, then that's what we'll do. And you all have a great week. And if anyone has any questions or anything I can help you with, just text me or give me a call.
Thank you.